welcome to the weekend edition of the Native News Update on this Friday, March 30th. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain, and many of the stories we read here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com, and here are some of the news stories for the day. CBS Sports Network presents Court of Champions, delivered by UPS, a one-hour documentary that traces the making of the 2012 Final Four court from its design in Indianapolis to its installation in New Orleans. The one-hour documentary debuts Sunday, April 1st at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Court of Champions explores the court's journey from a sustainable forest on the Menominee Indian Reservation in Wisconsin to the Superdome in New Orleans. Along the way, it passes through the heartland of the United States as the court is constructed in Michigan, assembled and painted in Ohio, and makes stops in Louisville, Kentucky, Atlanta, Georgia, Auburn, Alabama, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana, as it is trucked to its final destination. Andrew Lee produces, and Emily Deutsch is vice president, features in original programming. And for more information, you can go to cbssportsnetwork.com and take a peek at it. We're going to give you a little bit of a look at it on the trailer for Court of Champions right now.
Start with the rising sun and work towards the setting sun. But take only the mature trees, the sick trees, and the trees that have fallen. When you reach the end of the reservation, turn and cut from the setting sun to the rising sun, and the trees will last forever. Chief Oshkosh, Menominee.
With this whole economy of exporting jobs and products overseas, you got something right here where it's a great example of making products for America, in America, by especially American Indians.
For us that work here, because we know how the transformation took place from a standing tree coming into the yard and being processed through the plant. So it's special knowing we were all a part of that.
When we start making the NCA Final Four floors, there's like a buzz that goes around the mill at knowing that that's what it's going towards. It gives me a lot of pride knowing that these athletes are going to be playing on our floors, knowing I can turn on the TV and watch a game, knowing that it came from the middle of nowhere.
A collection of human bone fragments dating to the French and Indian Wars is expected to be returned soon from Canada to the upstate New York tourist attraction that owns the remains, a spokeswoman for the business said. Melody Veely of the Fort William Henry Corp in Lake George told the Associated Press that anthropologist Maria Liston, a member of the faculty at Ontario's University of Waterloo, is expected to return several boxes of bone fragments to fort officials as early as next month. Liston participated in an anthropology project at the fort in the spring of 1993 when 15 skeletons that had been on display at the fort for decades were being studied before planned reburial. But only 3 skeletons were reburied. The other 12 eventually were taken out of state with the fort's permission by Brenda Baker, another anthropologist involved in the project. Liston eventually took the boxes of bone fragments with her to Canada. In early February, the Associated Press reported the whereabouts of the skeleton and bone fragment collections after Liston, Baker, and Ford officials publicly discussed the matter for the first time. The revelation surprised and angered some of the local officials and historians who said they were led to believe that all the remains had been reinterred just before the highly publicized reburial ceremony was held on Memorial Day weekend in 1993. A Lakota healer said this week that tobacco is an integral part of Native American religious ceremonies, and denying its use is akin to taking away the Bible from a Christian. Richard Mooskamp, testifying during a federal trial challenging a South Dakota prison policy banning its use in such ceremonies, said tobacco has been a central part of prayer for thousands of years. It's traditionally mixed with other botanicals and pipes and smoked to bring peace and harmony, and connected to cloth in prayer ties that are burned in fires as a symbol of offering, he said. Inmates Blaine Brings Plenty and Clayton Creek, members of a prison-based Native American Council of Tribes, filed this suit in December of 2009 against prison warden Doug Weber, Corrections Secretary Dennis Kamingik, and Attorney General Marty Jackley. James Moore, the official's attorney, said ceremonial tobacco inside the state penitentiary was becoming increasingly abused, and inmates had been caught separating it from their pipe mixture and prayer ties. Moore said the state policy allows other botanicals such as red willow to be burned, and prison officials stopped short of banning the use of pipes. The Seneca Nation announced plans this week to resume construction of a permanent casino in Buffalo more than 3 years after suspending the project because of the poor economy. The Western New York tribe said it would build a $130 million casino to replace a temporary slots facility that has operated on its 9.5-acre site since 2007. Before the recession, the Seneca had planned a $333 million casino and hotel complex that was to be one of the largest private projects ever undertaken in the upstate city. The redesigned version will have a small restaurant and a bar and attached 4-level parking area for 715 cars. The current plans do not include a hotel. The design by Memphis firm Hanandak Bobo Group incorporated community input and is meant to blend in with plans to develop the surrounding neighborhoods and nearby Buffalo River waterfront, according to Seneca officials. The victims of a head-on crash last weekend near Wounded Knee that killed 2 men and women have been released. Oglala Sioux Police Chief Rich Greenwald tells the Rapid City Journal that the crash happened about 10:30 p.m. last Saturday on a Bureau of Indian Affairs highway south of Wounded Knee, South Dakota. He identified the victims as 21-year-old Anita Shangroa of Pine Ridge and 20-year-old David Cooney Jr. of Manderson and 37-year-old Michael Jealous of him of Oglala. A fourth person suffered unspecified injuries. The BIA was conducting the investigation. The Cherokee Nation has named a new executive director for its management resources team. Bruce Davis of Oaks took charge of the tribe's planning and development, facilities management, risk management, realty, natural resources, and environmental departments during late February. Bruce has a wide range of experiences to draw upon, Principal Chief Bill John Baker said. He will be an invaluable asset to the Cherokee Nation. Davis is a Cherokee citizen who grew up in Oaks. He holds a bachelor's degree in education and a master's degree in education administration, both from Northeastern State University, and a superintendent's certificate from the University of Tulsa. A fraternity and sorority at the University of Denver are apologizing for a Cowboys and Indians theme party last month that offended American Indian students on campus. The Lambda Chi Alpha fraternity and the Delta 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 sorority held the party on February 25th. 3 days later, members of the Native American Student Alliance saw photos and lodged a protest. According to the Denver Post, the American Indian students said the dress-up party belittled their culture and spirituality and violated DU's university policy, and for that, they win the Indigenous Spoof of the Month award, the Cow Pie Pie. And that's going to be another roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to thank you for joining with us, and you come back again soon and often.